guys, so today we're going to be talking about evidence. Most specifically, we'll be talking about common knowledge, citing, and how to convey evidence in your essay. So before we start out digging into those, I want to just reiterate that you can find a lot of the information that I'm talking about in our textbook as well. So please make sure you use that. That textbook was written by someone who works at GTC with students just like you and who knows the types of pitfalls that our students tend to struggle with. So that's just my little plug for our textbook. Please take a look at it. Now, common knowledge. What is that? Well, common knowledge is all about audience. Okay, it's about what we can expect our audience to know. Now, it depends on quite a few things. Okay, the age of the audience, the cultural background of the audience, the location of the audience. Now, the audience for our essay is going to be our classmates, right? The people in class with you, which means we have a wide variety of cultural backgrounds and ages. The one thing that's consistent is that everybody lives in the state of Georgia, at least temporarily. So we have to just think about that, right? So that's our commonality. So everyone lives in the state of Georgia, the Southeast United States. So we use that as our commonality. Can I expect my reader to know this information? So now, a good example of common knowledge information would be something like the story of Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs. We can expect a wide variety of people living in the United States to know the story of the Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs. Now, of course, there are multiple stories, right? There's the original, fairy tale version, there's the Disney version, but there's some familiarity with the overall plot, okay? So that would be common knowledge information. Now, something that wouldn't be common knowledge information would be, say I was writing an essay on photography. I like photography. So if I was discussing photography and I said, well, the aperture relates to the depth of field, okay? You might be sitting there saying, what in the world are those things? Depth of field, aperture, I don't know what any of those mean. Well, if that's you, you've just helped prove my point. I can't expect a general audience to understand these concepts. So I would have to give them some more information, some tools to understand it further. That would be an example of something that is not common knowledge. Now, I do want to make a quick distinction. For a general audience, not common knowledge. For a specific audience of other photographers, common knowledge. Right? So it depends on the audience that you're gearing your writing toward. So keep that in mind as you write. Your audience is everything. Let's say we're going on a website and we're looking through and finding out information about our topic. And, we're just kind of clicking through websites because statistics show that people spend about 15 seconds on a web page, right? So you're clicking through, you're reading interesting stuff. Now, say you read something interesting you like, you think, I can use that in my essay. And then, because we are so used to this, we just go to click off. Wait, don't do that, all right? Bookmark it, favorite it, whatever it is you have to do so you can go back to it to get the information that you need to cite this. Okay, now, of course, if the website's talking about common knowledge stuff, right, like, during the summertime in the state of Georgia, the sky is typically blue. Well, everybody knows that, right? We can expect our audience to know that, so we don't have to cite it. But if it's something more tailored to a different type of audience, we do. So if that's the case, then we need to have enough information about the website or the web page to be able to create a works cited citation and an in-text citation. So that's why I say bookmark it so you can go back if you don't want to write your works cited citation right off the bat. Now, when we use information in our essay from a source, we will either be paraphrasing or quoting it. Those are really our two options. Now, paraphrasing is when we use an idea from a source and put it in our own words. Quoting is when we actually use the language of the author, right? So it conveys both their idea and their language. So essentially, quoting is copy and pasting, and paraphrasing is summarizing the information that you see in the source. Now, both of those require an in-text citation with a corresponding works cited citation. Now, why do I keep harping on the fact that, works cited citation corresponding in-text citation and the other way around? Because they work together. If you have information from a source, they need to be cited, but you need both of those things. You can't just put a works cited citation down at the end and say, okay, I'm covered, right? MLA requires that only things that you actually use in your essay are needed on the works cited page. So if you found information that you just decided not to use, your source shouldn't be on your works cited page. It shouldn't be cited in your text because you're not using it. It shouldn't be in your works cited page either. So you really want to think, okay, where am I using this information? Let me put in my in-text citation. And then have your works cited citation at the end on the works cited page. Now, sometimes people submit something to me as a draft or something like that where there's like parentheses, because citations all go in parentheses, right at the end of the sentence. And inside the parentheses says citation. They haven't had the chance to put their citation in yet. Now, I'm going to suggest that you don't do this. Okay, and the reason that I say that is because depending on how you introduce your information, right, if you don't say the author's name, then you're going to be digging back through your source material trying to figure out what source you're talking about. So write your in-text citation as you're typing your essay. That way you don't have to waste time at the end going back through and potentially running out of time when you could just be doing it as you go. You were already looking at the source because you were putting the information in the essay to begin with. So keep that little pro tip in mind. Now, another thing that I want to talk about that relationship between works cited citations and in-text citations, right? They correspond with one another. When one is present, you need the other. Well, the works cited citation dictates what goes in the in-text citation, right? So in the works cited citation, usually it starts off with the author of a source, then the title, and then it kind of goes down to more specific ways to find your source. But sometimes there's no author, right? And when that happens, you just take that author part out and you start with, say, the web page title. Okay? Now, why am I talking about this here? Well, it's important because the first element of your works cited citation actually becomes your in-text citation. That's why if you have an author, the author's last name is in the in-text citation, which is also why when you have a web page with no author, the web page title becomes the in-text citation. If you're working on a film, the film title is your in-text citation information. Now, of course, you also always need to cite where in the source you found the info in your in-text citation. So the in-text citation not only shows what works cited citation your readers should be referring to find more information, but it shows where in the source they can find it. If there's a page number, this is nice and easy because MLA in-text citations use page numbers as a default, so it would just be the author's last name and a page number. Now, if you're working with an internet source, sometimes that gets more complicated, right? Because I don't know about you, but not many web pages I go to actually have like PDF scans of an article with page numbers on it. So that makes it a little tough. Well, how do we do that? Easy, right? So web page without an author, right? You would put the title of the web page, and then you would put the paragraph number that you found the info. Now, how do you find out the paragraph number? Because I've never seen paragraph numbers on a web page before. Well, you count them out, right? You just 1, 2, 3, 4. The info is in paragraph 5, right? So you want to make sure that in the in-text citation, you include both the reference to that works cited citation and also where you found the info in your source. If you're working with something like a YouTube video or a film, then you have to include a timestamp, right? You need to say, okay, I saw this in the video at this particular point. Now, you wouldn't just cite 1 second because 1 second isn't really enough to encapsulate enough information unless, say, you were trying to say for this video that the wall behind me is green. You could just pick a second and that would be your reference. But if you're trying to do something with dialogue or a particular scene, you need a time range. Okay, so you need to say this is when it begins and this is when it ends. So same thing for songs as well. You need a time range. Remember to think about whether the information that you're conveying is common knowledge for our general audience's age and cultural background and location. Okay, if it is, no in-text citation needed. If it's not, we need to back that up. Now, why do we need to back that up? Well, one, we want to tell our reader, hey, you can find out more info about this if you just go to this source, right? That's one thing. And another thing is that it credits the author of a source with providing the information. So it brings a little bit of added credibility to you, right? You say, this person knows their stuff, I'm going to use them in my essay and they're going to help back me up, okay? Crediting a source is important because you can't include something in your essay and not credit, okay? That is extremely important Because if you use information from a source in an essay without crediting it, that's plagiarism, whether you intend to or not. So you need to keep that in mind as you're going. All right, so I think that covers just about everything I wanted to talk about here. Thank you so much for your time today. I hope you have a great rest of your day. Do great things, and I will see you next time.